picked, there wasn't a lot of selection. I thought there'd be
I'd wanted a Don shirt so bad.
Why? He made a shirt. It's really nice. Hey, let's go! Take a picture of me! Hey!
Joe, how you find
You guys are scaring the shit out of me.
Look at that, Pittsburgh Comicon.
I can tell. Hey, it's on the outboard.
Go ahead. You first, sir.
Are you game off? You need lighter fluid? You got it.
I mean, now, keep in mind, I did the zombie thing, but I was also a grip on the film. Okay, so the crew that, started putting things together, I mean, the actors were having, like say right now, you're all here, so you're kind of like the actors, right? You're getting your makeup put on, you're getting ready for the set. We're out setting up the lights, or breaking down the lights, or clearing the scene, or making sure that there's no continuity problems with things being there that were put out during the day that weren't there the night before. Like we were filming here at the mall between about November 7th until about the end of January. Okay, so especially during the Christmas season, for continuity purposes, all of the Christmas kind of things had to be moved inside or moved around, or the particular stores were nice enough to do it for us. So we had to be very careful about how things were set up, and continuity was very, very important detail every day when we were here. Okay, this floor below you, it's a food court, all right? That is where I want to do Okay, this is the food court area. This is where the hockey rink was, where all the zombies were, zombing on the ice, slipping and falling, the slapstick scene. And, well, to me it was slapstick. It was pretty fun. I mean, we had to get it all set up though. It had to be lit, it had to be laid out, and people couldn't get hurt, obviously. So, it was a funny scene, but also it was real ice. And, so, if you want to I don't know if you want to film the food court, because I know there are a bunch of you here who want to film it. That's what the ice rink was. You care about that? Okay, so we met in this room every night around 7 or 8 o'clock. This is where all the makeup was done for the zombies, the actors, for all of us. We all congregated here. And then this is now a daycare center. This is like the heart throb. This was like the heartbeat of the place, because this is where we all had to be. And we, equipment was here. Everything was in this room. Food, everything else. It was a very tight budget. This is the very important area. Remember they went through the duct work all the time? They go up in the ceiling, or it'd be duct work. Well, none of that duct work was here at all. All that duct work was in downtown Pittsburgh. Okay, it was built in a studio, and it was only this high off the ground. And that was one of the first things we did. We built the actual ductwork, the whole network of ducts, and that was all cut in. And I think that you can see how brilliantly it was cut in, because you never imagine that you're not actually in the mall. Mm-hmm. Those were all shot on separate days. And one of the most important scenes that happens right here is when David Emge, aka Flyboy, was. Well, I think he's the most interesting zombie in the whole film, actually, because what David does is he becomes zombified in one of the elevators downstairs in Penny's, which, if we're allowed to walk anywhere near it, I'll try and show you where it is. But the protagonist, our heroes, whatever you want to call them, they created this false area, a false wall where there was a door, okay, and David, aka Flyboy, he's now zombified, right? And so he remembers, you know, there's some cognizance of, oh, where I've been and where this fake wall is. So David,
right here, there's a inset. There was basically a wall, fake wall put up there, right where these people are standing right here. And actually, that was what was torn down to get upstairs, theoretically, in the movie. So we would, as zombies, we made it down this hallway to this spot, and then we all gathered and just started pulling and yanking and pulled the thing open and got up. But that's where it happened right there. One other thing I want to say, this doorway here, as far as we were concerned, this was where we came in and went out. This was our entrance and exit coming to work every night. And we would walk from there to there. We did all our stuff and we waited around until somebody, somewhere in this complex, would speak into a walkie-talkie to somebody in there, and they would say, "Go to the basement." And we go, "Where's the basement?" And then we would be taken, and we had golf carts running all around this place. But basically, like Lenny said, if you weren't working, you were in there. So this big empty space in here was like a daycare center for freaks. And you could walk in there on any given night for a period of over a month and see likely or more 100 people saying, figuring out how they were going to be a zombie that night. And the rest of us would sit there and watch them do that. And try to figure out, well, I have to be somewhat different, you know. But in any case, this room was probably the most important location on the location, because this was zombie and everything central right in here. And when we weren't in there, we were working somewhere or in between.
and what I really remember vividly about David was, you know, he had, he played the flyboy part well. And he plays, you know, kind of an incompetent guy, especially when he has guns. and in truth, David knew how to use rifles and guns, right?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a year in Vietnam with an M16 within arm's length of me, and I had no problem with any of that stuff, but I got to look like a doofus. Which, fine, you know. So that didn't bother me, because it was a job, and that was what one of the interesting parts of the character. But in any case.
And what I found really interesting was, though, and I didn't know he had an experience in Vietnam, I just knew David as an actor, right? And it seemed to me that when he went from flyboy to the zombie, it was like he had an opportunity to really play the part the way he wanted to do something with a lot of intensity. So when he starts tearing into this fake wall, it didn't just kind of fall down. He literally ripped into it with his bare teeth. You could see teeth marks, and you could see how much he wanted this. He made the part mean something. He didn't just play zombie. He didn't play flyboy zombie. He played like the ultimate killer predator zombie. I remember him saying how his teeth hurt after he did it. He seemed to feel good about it somehow, because it was like he literally got to sink his teeth into the part for once during the film. So you have to like always go, oh, I did something else stupid. Oh, I did something else. Galen doesn't want to have a baby. Nobody wants to do anything around here. But he got to play this part with such intensity, and I felt this sort of gratification, because I'm gripping. When we're done, they're acting, right? So we're just watching. Okay, we're kind of getting into the next thing we have to do, but there were times we had to be so quiet we couldn't be moving unless we were out there, downstairs, somewhere else, or we couldn't make any noise at all. So it was interesting to me watching an actor take one role and turn it into a whole other role. here in this sort of blank area, but he took it and made it into something special. I think out of everyone that played the film, David sort of had the most difficult task because he had to play two completely different roles. Everybody else got to play a role for the whole film. And I think that's what makes a zombie so much more interesting than all the others, because he has to kind of do it instantly, at least on film.
Yeah, and it also is what made it a hell of a lot of fun.
There was a scene with Tom Savini where he does a leap, a flying leap over the banister with, what were they? Were they flags? What were they, flags? Banners. Banners. Okay, banners. Thank you. And you know, obviously it's a stunt. It was a dangerous stunt. We didn't have airbags. We had mattresses that were brought in. Okay. And the first time when Tom goes flying over the railing, his feet landed just outside of the mattresses. And he actually broke part of the back of his heels. Okay? And so it had to be redone. I mean, he had to heal for a couple of days, but they did redo the scene. And it worked out very well. But, you know, because it was a low budget, you know, keep in mind, this was a low budget film. An amazing quality, low budget film. And it was probably done for $1 million or less. And nobody was getting rich on it, but the amazing part of it is that we all loved working on the film so much and enjoyed each other so much that was contributing to its success. And even someone like Tom, he's playing a stuntman, he was playing a makeup person, he was acting. You know, I mean, when someone who's a grip gets to also play a zombie, you know, we're not abiding by any kind of union, okay? And each night we would come to these areas and, you know, obviously if you're setting up for a scene, it had to be lit. We're not using store lights, we're not using skylights, obviously it's night. So we had to have individual lights set up near or behind each individual column. And if there were like traveling scenes with cars moving through the mall, which of course we did have, all the lighting had to be put up inside the ceiling. Okay? And so when things were shot from here down to there, the whole upper area had to be lit and the lower area had to be lit. And I'm kind of curious from your perspective, does anybody have specific questions about anything that may have happened here?
How did you light?
We used, I mean, like lights? Lights? We used generators that were outside. We used generators that were outside, and we simply, you know, took the cable, hundreds of feet of cable outside, because obviously the generators made a great deal of noise. And generators were set up every night, and that was probably what took us the longest each night that we set up, was we had hundreds of feet, hundreds of yards of cable set up each and every night. And occasionally, you know, something would blow and we'd kind of have to start the process all over again. But usually, more times than not, everything went very smoothly. Occasionally we'd blow a light and nobody would see because we had so many lights. So you'd see this long lighted spot in the movie. If you're really looking, you'll see like a light that was out. You won't see it physically, you'll see a spot. There was a shadow versus, you know, the sort of continuity of the light. Okay?
You guys were coming in like 7 o'clock every night, even the same time in the morning. How much actual on the air time were you getting?
How much?
Actual film time?
Well, we were getting the amount of film time from about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, depending upon how complicated the setup was. And we were stopping at just about 7 o'clock each morning. We could not go overtime because there was an automated music system that automatically came on in the mall. So anything that had to do with sound was completely out. And so sound was always, you know, of course, a very important factor. And also, we were basically given a time that we had to be done. Because, you know, some of the vendors were coming in earlier to set up shop, And also we had to move lights, move cable. It wasn't like a set where you could just leave everything set and come back the next night. We had to remove everything every night for weeks. And, it was exhausting. I mean, it was exhausting. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was exhausting.